Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the surge effect, and this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Surge Effect. Today's Surge Effect, we are going to be talking about the Calgary Stampede a little bit, what transpired, of course, the last few days. I think it goes on for 10 days. Anyway, just stuff, funny stuff that is going on with Carney and what have you. So we're going to move forward from there. We're going to talk a little bit about, of course, what's going on in Texas, that major flooding there and the flash flooding in Texas. Touch on that a little bit. And then we're going to, last but not least, we'll talk a little bit about the Epstein list, supposedly, that's non-existent, that was dropped last night. And then to top it off, at the very, very last, I got a little something to throw at you just at the very end of this video. And stick around or check it out. Anyway, so let's get going with today's podcast on the Surge Effect. All right, so here we go. So the very first one I'm going to show you is, of course, the video that Mark Carney would want to show you. It's a propaganda one as opposed to the actual reality with the Calgary Stampede. Check it out.
Maybe it's summer, making friends, crushing cans, holding hands, and all the West Coast nights. Please welcome the Right Honorable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh my God, everyone's booing.
17,000 people in that stadium in Calgary booing that Prime Minister. Here is a video clip of Pierre Poilievre flipping pancakes when he did it, I believe, last year.
There you go. That's not. I was better not.
So, of course, that video went viral, of course, because of his flipping skills. And here's one of Daniel Smith flipping. Next level. And of course, that was Trudeau there at the start there, playing the sad music. Poor guy. Anyway, here is Pierre Poilievre talking a little bit about what you just saw.
And so let me start in a spirit of nonpartisanship as a Calgarian to welcome Prime Minister Mark Carney to his very first Stampede in this role. And he had, of course, to do the customary thing and flip some pancakes. Now, he thought he would be great at it, because in his trade talks with Trump, he's had so much experience flip-flopping. But still, it didn't go as planned. One of the pancakes got broken in half, and the other one splattered everywhere. And he owned up to it, but a careful review of a slow motion replay demonstrated exactly what the problem was. He couldn't figure out whether to put his elbows up or down.
There's classic Pierre Poilievre. He's back. He's doing his thing, and it's good to see. It's good to see. All right, so we're going to move on. Of course, the next thing I mentioned is touch briefly on the Calgary Stampede stuff. It was kind of cute watching those videos. Of course, the devastating thing that happened in Texas. This was just dropped actually just earlier today. The risk of further floods in Texas as death toll tops 80, with dozens of people still missing. And of course, there was 23, I believe, or 24 young girls that were camping that got swept up in that flood. Absolutely devastating. So I'm just going to show you a couple of clips of this water. And of course, when you could watch on the YouTube, you can see it. But you won't be able to obviously see it when you're listening to it on my Podbean or Spotify or wherever you're listening to the audio. So anyway, you'll be able to watch this. Just check this out. It's pretty wild. You can see the surge of water coming down that riverbank. I guess they received like 10 inches upstream, like 10 inches of water in the storm. And it just created massive water surge. I'm just going to speed up this video a little bit to kind of get the idea. But it happens pretty fast. Raises fairly quickly, but this video goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes. But there's a lot of damage to these trees on the side of the bank, and it just literally just rips down these trees, pulls them right down, and then it goes up to the height of the bridge. And in very, like I said, a very short period of time, now the water's going over that bridge. Yeah, that's quite something to see for sure. So I'm just going to show you one more clip of what's going on in Texas from a different vantage point. San Angelo, Texas, major flooding
Chief
event.
Travis Griffith here. I just wanted to take a moment to be able to share some footage from our wonderful drone team of the rescues and things that took place on July 4th, 2025. What you're watching right here is a vehicle rescue. This is from the Fort Worth Fire Department. They're part of Texas Task Force 1 Swiftwater Rescue. They responded quickly and were able to assist this motorist who was stranded. There's another gentleman that you can see right here that was also getting out of the high water. This is one of San Angelo police officers that was able to make it to this location to work on trying to get this citizen out of the water. We have blurred the faces of people that have been involved in this, just because we want to make sure that we don't put out any information that we shouldn't be. Police officers did this all across San Angelo, as well as firemen were helping get people out of vehicles and out of property. This is the Texas Task Force 1 Swiftwater Rescue again. This is a father and son, a very young son that is stranded, holding on.
So I'm not going to play again.
The
too
videos
much
that
of
you're
this
going to
stuff.
see here is just kind of giving an overview of the extensive amount of damage that was seen.
Gives you an idea
at
how
this
deep
time
that water
frame.
is and how high
This
it
is
rose.
just after the early morning hours. The waters were very high, and the extent of damage was significant.
It's quite devastating. Quite devastating when you see it like that. Anyway, our heart goes out to all the people in Texas, all those families, and everything that they are going through. It's just horrific to see what's going on. What I don't want to see, obviously, is people blaming something like this on like the usual. You know, when they say that it's climate change and stuff like that. This has been going on for hundreds of years. Okay. So I'm going to show you right here. It's a historical content notability flash flooded for years, pre-20th century. While detailed records are sparse, early accounts from the 1800s describe significant flooding along the Texas River, such as the Guadalupe and Brazos, often linked to heavy rainfall and hurricanes. For example, from the Guadalupe River in Kerr County is noted for flooding as early as 1838. Now, there's other years, of course, 1913, 1932 to 36, 1952 to 54, 1972, 78, 87. It goes on and on. Brazos River flooded again in central Texas. Major flooding along the Guadalupe River again on the waterways. These are all the different years. I posted it just up on my page there. It's almost like it's like Tornado Alley. Same kind of a principle, right? These things have been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it is devastating to the people that live in that area, 100%. I mean, I couldn't imagine what these people are going through. It's terrible. Like I said, heart goes out to each and every one of those people that are down there. The rescuers, and all the stuff that those guys are doing. Hats off to each and every one of you. It's awesome. Okay, so let's move on. We are moving on now to, of course, the Epstein situation. It just dropped last night. The DOJ obviously says that the FBI review finds no Jeffrey Epstein client list. Confirms a suicide memo. Of course, it was dropped last night. There's the time frame, July 7th, 12/12. Now, people are going to say what they want. They're going to say about conspiracy and what have you. They're going to say, what's going on with all this stuff. So I'm going to drop you a little video clip here and just listen to this, and then I'll show you a few more things.
Now to the breaking news overnight about the Jeffrey Epstein files and the conspiracy theories officially being rejected. Overnight, the FBI and Justice Department releasing 11 hours of footage they say helps confirm notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in his Manhattan jail cell in 2019, awaiting his sex trafficking trial. According to a memo detailing the findings, investigators found the video showed no one entering the area in the overnight hours before Epstein was found unresponsive. But perhaps the biggest bombshell, investigators say they found no incriminating client list of Epstein's, no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and no evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. For years, Epstein has been at the center of conspiracies surrounding both his death and a rumored client list allegedly used to blackmail powerful men. Attorney General Pam Bondi, back in February, was asked if the Justice Department intended to release a list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients, Bondi saying this.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
And just last month, while feuding with President Trump.
So you just saw what I saw there. It doesn't quite make sense. Just from what she had said, that she was looking at stuff on her desk. Something was on her desk and she's just reviewing it, blah, blah, blah. And now they're saying there's no list. I don't quite understand that. And that was back in February. So I'm going to play another little clip here. And this was Kash Patel when he was on the Joe Rogan show. And this is Pam Bondi being asked questions outside the White House. Listen to what they say.
Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going.
Okay, so I don't know where all that's going either. I'm not sure, but they're saying that there's no list. Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison because she helped Epstein do what he did. So who's the people that she knows? Does she know anybody? Does she know there's a list or there's not a list? I don't quite understand. But here is Andrew Tate, a very controversial guy. He lives in Romania with his brother. He was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, and this is what he had to say about the Epstein list. Listen carefully.
Money is the driving force behind all politics. It always will be, because it is your primary objective to not only make people believe they can be rich, but to keep your rich people happy, to keep your oligarchy happy, and to keep them politically invested in you. So you talk about the Epstein list. I would argue it's a very similar scenario. It's all about money. It's all about who has the money and controlling the money. Is America as a country prepared to upset all of its richest people? I don't know. Is it? Is it prepared to upset all of its richest people to appease bloodthirsty brokies who don't even care about justice? They just want the drama. Another question, because I would argue that the murders that happen every day on the street are very interesting, but no one cares about that. MS-13 and all this shit, no one really cares about that. But this Epstein list they really care about. They want justice, sure, but it's a drama. It's interesting. They want to find out. They're curious. And I'm asking you, as a professional, you're in charge of a country. Your primary objective is to keep your oligarchy happy, to keep the wealth inside of your nation, and to make them obey you when it comes to sanctions and such other things, and to ensure that the US dollar becomes and stays the predominant currency globally. There's a bunch of bloodthirsty brokies on the internet who barely pay taxes who want to go through a list. Who are you going to prioritize? Who do you care about? I'm not saying it's fair, but anyone who believes the legal systems are fair is a dumbass anyway, because the legal system's never been fair. There's always been a who are you involved in all legal cases. So when you talk about the Epstein things, I sit and think it's all money orientated. because broke people like to think that rich people should be held accountable like broke people. And that's a great idea. But guess what? They're not. They're not.
Pretty basic, eh? Pretty simple, pretty basic. That what Andrew's saying there, that it's money oriented, right? Money oriented, and you have the people with money and the people without money. And do they want to expose those people that don't have money? All right, so to close off my podcast here, I'm just going to show you a little clip here about, I always hear people say about how great Canada is. We live in the greatest country in the world. I came across this little clip a little while ago, and this little TikToker, and she says, Canada is not the best country to live anymore. Prove me wrong. This is what she had to say about it.
Canadians are some of the most complacent people in the world, and I'll prove it to you. I immigrated to Canada with my parents when I was young, and I finally understand why Canadians never leave. You guys have convinced yourselves that suffering is normal. You'll pay $2,500 and up for a one-bedroom apartment, work 50 hours a week just to afford groceries, but hey, at least it's not America, right? I've been living in Mexico the last 4 years. I live like a queen here for a fraction of the cost. Better food, better weather. People are way happier, and I'm not working myself to death just to survive. But the thing is, when I tell Canadians this, they don't ask how they can do it too. They immediately start listing reasons why it won't work for them. And then they'll say things like, but what about healthcare? Dude, I can get better healthcare here in Mexico for what you pay in taxes. But what about safety? I feel safer walking around at night in Mexico City than I do in downtown Toronto. What about career? You're working 60 hours a week just to afford a shoebox apartment and Tim Hortons? Canadians have this weird pride in accepting mediocrity. They'll complain about everything. The cost of living, the housing crisis. You've been told that you live in the best country in the world so many times that you've stopped questioning whether it's true or not. The most Canadian thing ever is staying miserable because change is scary and Mexico is dangerous. Maybe come down here and experience it for yourself.
So there you go. You can give me your 2 cents worth on that if you like. Drop them in the comments. But I'm looking at the taxes that we pay here in Canada, just what she said there. Keep in mind that Carney basically just dumped $10 billion domestic financial burden on top of Canada, $10 billion to put more burden on the backs of Canadians. And then they shut down the House, of course, for the summer, and away they went. So they're all off for the summer after dumping $10 billion of Canadian tax money abroad. And I want to just kind of show you that there's 47 different taxes that I can think of. I just threw this little. That's our money being burned for taxes, for sure. So I'm going to pop up this other little picture here of taxes. So look at these taxes. Personal income tax, corporate income tax, goods and services tax, harmonized sales tax, fuel excise tax, alcohol tax, tobacco tax, cannabis tax, vehicle air conditioning tax, carbon tax, luxury tax, air traffic, the traveler security charge, customs duties tax, capital gains tax, alternate minimum tax, the kiddie tax, financial institution capital tax, excise tax, Canadian pension plan contribution tax, employment insurance premiums, corporate level. This goes on and on. I'm going to scroll. I'm not going to read them all because that would be ridiculous. So there's some there. And the very last two on that list, I couldn't fit them on. There were so many, but it was basically business taxes and school taxes. So there, just gives you a little something to think about. Gives you a little something to think about it as far as a Canadian and our taxes and how much we are taxed. 65% of our gross income is taxed. 65%. I know people will say we live in the best country in the world and this is the greatest country in the world, but just like that lady said, we've lived here so long and we're just dug in deep. But $2,500 for a small apartment, paying through the nose for groceries. I bought a bag of groceries the other day. It cost me $90. I could fit it in a little shopping bag, a little wee plastic bag, actually cloth bag. They don't like plastic here in Canada. Anyway. That's my little rant about taxes. Let me know what you think. Drop them in the comments. I'm going to shut her down here today. Thank you very much for subscribing and liking. Don't forget to ring the little bell. Share my videos. When you share them and like them and pass them around, it helps with the algorithm, and the video goes up and down accordingly within YouTube. And that helps a lot to get the information out, to share it as well. I also like to always say when I'm closing that life is tough. Everyone in life is going through a rough time. Everyone, including myself. But what you got to do is do one thing. And if you're watching my videos, you know what I'm about to say. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward. Nothing waiting for you back there. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. And with that being said, like I said, have yourself a great day, everyone. Until next time, cheers.